after back-to-back devastating losses that left his championship reign in ruins, followed by cryptic comments about retirement that sent the internet into a frenzy, and persistent whispers of promotional dissatisfaction, the former UFC bantamweight champion made a move that nobody saw coming. But here's the thing, and I need you to listen very closely because the mainstream headlines are missing the forest for the trees. What you're about to discover isn't what you think it is. It's far more complicated, far more personal, and far more significant than anyone realizes. The fall from grace and the rumors that shook MMA. Let me take you back to where this all began, because to truly understand where Sean O'Malley stands today, you need to understand the absolute whirlwind of chaos that has consumed the last 18 months of his career. This isn't just a story about wins and losses inside a cage. This is a story about identity, perception, and how the modern MMA media machine can twist reality into something almost unrecognizable. Standing in the center of the octagon in Boston, Massachusetts, the colorful striker from Montana has just knocked out Aljamain Sterling, a man many considered the worst possible stylistic matchup for him due to his grappling pedigree. In that moment, O'Malley captured the UFC bantamweight championship. The crowd is going absolutely insane. The confetti is falling, and Sugar Sean, the man who built his entire brand on highlight reel knockouts, vibrant hair, and unshakable confidence, has finally silenced every single doubt. That night, he earned a $50,000 performance of the night bonus to add to his growing collection. The critics who said he was just a hype train, that he couldn't handle elite competition, were proven spectacularly wrong. He was on top of the world. He was the face of the new generation. Everything seemed perfect. Tossed forward just 2 years, and the narrative couldn't be more different. By December 2025, O'Malley finds himself ranked number 3 in the UFC bantamweight division, a far cry from the championship throne he once occupied. His record, which once seemed destined for legendary status, now reads 18-3, with 1 no contest. Those 3 losses, they aren't just numbers on a Wikipedia page. They tell a story of a fighter who ran headfirst into a brick wall named Merab Dvalishvili. Not once, but twice. The first collision happened at UFC 306 on September 4. O'Malley entered that fight dealing with something the public didn't know about at the time: a torn labrum in his left hip, sustained approximately 10 weeks before the bout. Despite the injury, he stepped into the cage anyway, only to lose his championship via unanimous decision to the relentless Georgian pressure fighter. The scorecards read 49-46, 50-45, 50-44, a dominant performance by Dvalishvili that left no room for debate. It wasn't just a loss, it was a mauling. The machine simply overwhelmed the sniper, drowning him in volume and pace. But here's where the story gets truly heartbreaking. After undergoing hip surgery on October 3, 2024, O'Malley spent months rehabilitating, transforming his lifestyle, and preparing for what he believed would be his redemption tour. He quit marijuana after a decade-long habit. He stepped away from social media. He incorporated yoga, meditation, and red light therapy into his daily routine. Everything was meticulously planned for the rematch. He did everything right. And then UFC 316 happened on June 6. In the third round of that fight, Dvalishvili secured a north-south choke at the 4:42 mark, forcing O'Malley to tap. It was his first career submission loss, and his second consecutive defeat to the same opponent. The psychological weight of that moment cannot be overstated. For a striker who prides himself on distance management and evasiveness, being controlled and submitted is the ultimate humiliation. Post-fight, O'Malley called Dvalishvili the greatest bantamweight of all time. A stunning admission from a fighter known for his supreme self-confidence. It felt like a concession. It felt like the end of an era. What happened next is what truly set the MMA world on fire. On August 12, 2025, O'Malley appeared on his podcast, The Timbo Sugar Show, and uttered words that sent shockwaves through the entire combat sports community. According to reports on his statements, O'Malley said, "If I had to guess, it would be November or December this year that I return. Ideally, I'd fight one more time this year. But it's possible I don't fight again this year. It's actually possible that I never fight again. You just never know. What if I snap my toe off?" Those words, "it's actually possible that I never fight again," became the headline that launched 1,000 speculation articles. Media outlets ran wild. Social media exploded with theories. Was Sean O'Malley, at just 31 years old, seriously considering walking away from the sport that made him a global superstar? was the mental toll of losing to Merab twice too much to bear. But here's what the clickbait headlines conveniently left out. O'Malley never actually said he was retiring. He was speaking philosophically about the unpredictable nature of life and athletic careers. He was being vulnerable about the fragility of the human body in a violent sport. When pressed about these comments just 8 days later in an interview with MMA Junkie, he quickly clarified his position, stating there were no plans, as of now, to retire, and emphasizing his appreciation for every training session. He reiterated his target return timeline of November or December 2025, mentioning upcoming talks with UFC officials. Yet the damage was done. The speculation had taken on a life of its own. Once a narrative gains momentum in the world of combat sports media, it becomes almost impossible to stop. And that's when the PFL rumors started circulating. In July 2025, isolated social media posts began suggesting that O'Malley was hinting at leaving the UFC for the Professional Fighters League, supposedly because he saw no future in the company or because he was disgruntled with the UFC's matchmaking. Fans who were already reeling from his consecutive losses and retirement comments suddenly had a new narrative to latch onto. Sean O'Malley was abandoning ship. Let's talk about money for a moment, because in professional fighting, money talks louder than anything else. Financial incentives drive every major decision in this sport, and understanding the economics reveals why these PFL rumors never made any logical sense to anyone who actually understands the business. Sean O'Malley's disclosed UFC career earnings exceed $2.6 million, and that's just the base payouts. When you factor in pay-per-view shares, merchandise, and promotional bonuses, the numbers become astronomical. For his UFC 2022 title win alone, estimates suggest he earned between $1.118 million and $1.43 million. Compare that to what the PFL offers. The organization that acquired Bellator in November 2023 has been hemorrhaging talent and cutting costs at every turn. In 2025, they reduced their flagship tournament prize from $1 million at just $500,000 per weight class, a move that fans called the final nail in the promotion's credibility. The backlash was swift and brutal. Former UFC veteran Matt Brown publicly blasted the PFL for their handling of the Bellator acquisition, calling it a train wreck and criticizing their business plan. Douglas Lima accused the PFL of financial sabotage in May 2024 for failing to book fights or honor contractual commitments. The organization's reputation among fighters was in freefall. So ask yourself this. Why would Sean O'Malley, a fighter who holds the record for most post-fight bonuses in UFC bantamweight history, who generates massive pay-per-view revenue, and who remains one of the most marketable faces in the sport, voluntarily leave for an organization that can barely afford to pay its current roster? Why would he leave the biggest stage in the world for a promotion struggling to keep the lights on? The answer, quite simply, is that he would, and he isn't. The real story behind the headlines. So if Sean O'Malley isn't actually leaving the UFC, what's really going on behind the scenes, and why have these rumors persisted with such intensity? The answers reveal a far more interesting narrative than simple promotional defection. This is a story of personal transformation, family priorities, and a fighter rediscovering his purpose. To understand the full picture, you need to look at the broader context of O'Malley's a year defined not by departure, but by deliberate transformation. Everything he's done points toward rebuilding, not retreating. In late December 2024, O'Malley made an announcement that would set the tone for everything that followed. On his Instagram, he declared, "2025, I'm deleting all my social medias off my phone until my next fight. My team will be running my socials. We will still make content, but I just need a detox from my phone. Going to focus on reaching my full potential as an athlete and a father." This wasn't the statement of a man planning to jump ship. This was the declaration of a fighter committed to reinvention. He realized that the sugar show persona, the constant content creation, the engagement with trolls, the 24/7 online presence, was draining the energy he needed to defeat monsters like Merab Dvalishvili. Within days of implementing the detox, O'Malley reported feeling more disconnected from the internet universe. And he viewed this disconnection as entirely positive. He spoke about the silence in his head, the clarity of thought, the ability to separate the character from the human being. The lifestyle changes extended far beyond social media abstinence. O'Malley incorporated red light therapy, cold plunges, yoga, and mindfulness into his daily routine. He started each morning with hydration and therapy sessions before transitioning into training. This wasn't a fighter going through the motions to collect a paycheck. This was someone completely restructuring their approach to life and competition to extend their prime. And then there's the family element, perhaps the most overlooked aspect of this entire story. While the media focused on speculation and rumors, O'Malley was experiencing profound personal milestones that reshaped his priorities entirely. In May 2025, just weeks before his rematch with Delishvili at UFC 316, O'Malley and his longtime partner Danya Gonzalez welcomed their second child, a son. This came after their daughter Elena, born in December 2020, had already become a fixture in O'Malley's public persona. O'Malley's connection to his family became a central theme in his 2025 interviews. Speaking to Sports Illustrated, he reflected on how fatherhood had put his career into perspective. It wasn't about the clout anymore. It was about the legacy and the livelihood he was building for them. The detox plan wasn't just about fighting better. It was about being a more present father. Now let's address the elephant in the room. What about that interest from PFL fighters wanting to face O'Malley? Doesn't that suggest some kind of cross-promotional possibility? The most notable example is Patchy Mix, the former Bellator bantamweight champion, who spent years calling for a showdown with Sugar Sean. Mix labeled O'Malley a dream fight back in November 2023. Claiming he would sleep the UFC star while acknowledging O'Malley's superior marketability. But here's the irony that completely undermines the O'Malley to PFL narrative. Mix didn't stay in the PFL. He left in May 2025. The PFL mutually agreed not to extend Mix's contract, making him a free agent after months of inactivity and frustration. Where did Mix go? Straight to the UFC, where he debuted against Mario Bautista at UFC 316 on June 7th. The talent flow isn't from UFC to PFL. It's the exact opposite. Fighters are fleeing the PFL for UFC opportunities. Seeking stability and the chance to fight on the biggest stage. And what about O'Malley's own statements regarding his UFC future? Every single public comment he's made in 2025 points in one direction: staying and competing. There's zero ambiguity when you actually listen to the man himself. In September 2025, when rumors circulated about a potential fight with Song Yadong, O'Malley responded enthusiastically on his podcast. Song Yadong seems like a great opponent. I like the matchup. This was not the response of a fighter contemplating departure. This was a man eager to get back to work. The fight was officially announced for UFC 34 on January 24, 2026 at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, part of the historic Paramount debut event. O'Malley would face Song Yadong, the 22-8-1 power puncher from China, in a non-title bantamweight bout positioned on the main card. This represented his first non-title fight since 2023, a humbling but necessary step back to rebuild his momentum. Even O'Malley's reaction to the card's announcement reveals his commitment. When Dana White announced UFC 322 as main events during an NFL halftime show, O'Malley expressed confusion at what he perceived as a low-energy reveal. He found the whole situation strange, questioning why the announcement lacked the usual Dana White enthusiasm. Crucially, though, his complaints were about the promotion of the event, not his place within the organization. He wants the spotlight to be brighter, not to leave the stage. In fact, he's looking far beyond the Yadong fight. O'Malley has publicly called for a rematch with Petr Yan, who captured the bantamweight championship at UFC 323 on December 7th. He's already plotting the path back to gold. The ambition hasn't diminished one bit. The truth, the future, and what this means for MMA. So, O'Malley remains ranked number 3 in the UFC bantamweight division as of December 20. He has a fight officially booked against Song Yadong just 6 weeks away. He's actively training at Red Hawk Academy in Arizona, incorporating new movement specialists into his camp. The PFL rumors were nothing more than smoke and mirrors, a byproduct of a restless fanbase and a clickbait media cycle. But beyond the contract status, there is something deeper happening in O'Malley's career narrative. This is a story about personal growth. When Ilia Topuria announced he was taking a hiatus from fighting in late 2025 amid rumored personal issues, O'Malley's response was genuinely empathetic. He spoke about the mental toll of the sport, showing a level of maturity we haven't seen from him before. "I really want to fight till the wheels fall off," he said recently. That's not the statement of a man planning to quit. That's the declaration of a fighter who is investing in his own longevity. Now let's look at what is actually at stake in the coming months. The Song Yadong fight at UFC 3034 represents a crucial crossroads. A victory, especially a spectacular finish, would immediately thrust O'Malley back into the title picture. Song Yadong brings 22 wins, including 9 knockouts, and represents exactly the kind of stylistic matchup that O'Malley thrives in. This isn't a wrestler who will hold him down for 25 minutes. This is a striker who will stand and trade. It is dangerous, yes, but it is also the perfect stage for the Sugar Show to return. And O'Malley is already looking at the chessboard. With Petr Yan holding the belt again, the stars are aligning for a rematch of their UFC 280 Classic, a fight that remains one of the most debated decisions in recent history. Biggest bantamweight fight in history. Me versus Petr rematch, O'Malley said. The vision is clear. Defeat Song Yadong, call out Petr Yan, reclaim the belt. But there is a new element to Sean O'Malley now. Humility. The losses to Merab have refined him. "You're only as good as your last performance," he admitted. He knows he has to earn it back. He knows the fans are fickle. He knows the hype train has derailed, and he has to push it back onto the tracks with his own 2 hands. This is a different Sean O'Malley. The colorful hair is still there. The tattoos are still there. But the mind has changed. He has tasted defeat, he has felt the physical limits of his body, and he has chosen to evolve rather than fade away. So to answer the question everyone has been asking, has Sean O'Malley quit the UFC? Absolutely not. What we are witnessing is something far more compelling. We are watching a boy who became a star, now trying to become a legend by climbing out of the deepest valley of his career. And Sugar Sean O'Malley will be right there in the thick of it, not as the undefeated hype train, but as the battle-tested veteran with everything to prove. And if history has taught us anything, it's that a motivated, focused, and humbled Sean O'Malley is a terrifying proposition for the rest of the division. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.